As of this video's release, the Lego movie will be over 10 years old. That is absolutely insane. This movie is probably the closest thing to my childhood. Heck, all four of them are. The first one got me into playing with Lego. Lego Batman got me into the wider DC lore. Lego Ninjago made me watch a show and appreciate comedy in movies. And the second Lego movie was my most anticipated film going into 2019. So in this video, I'll be ranking all four films in the short-lived Lego cinematic universe. Now, I don't want to say that the Lego Movie 2, the second part, is a bad movie because, well, it isn't. It has a lot of great comedy, the visuals are very colorful, and it's very meta with its humor and its story, and it pushes itself in a lot of different ways compared to the first movie. But at the same time, you can feel the lack of Phil Lord and Chris Miller's influence with this one. It has its own unique sense of charm, like I said, but it doesn't feel like a sequel to the gem that was the first movie, though it is still fun. Emmett has a lot of charming moments as usual. The references to all the former Batman movies are also really funny. The soundtrack is pretty good instead of only having Everything Is Awesome repeat throughout the whole film. The score is also great. The live action parts are kind of interesting. And I think the visual comedy is also really good. And the Bruce Willis gag is so funny. Like, he agreed to be in this movie for that. There's just a lot going on in this movie, and some characters from the first are completely sidelined. Once we leave Apocalypseburg, Benny, Unikitty, and Metalbeard have nothing to do. Yeah, I mean, even in terms of Apocalypseburg, Metalbeard and Benny don't have anything that really furthers the plot. What a waste of Charlie Day. If you get them out, and just keep Emmett and Lucy and Batman from the first movie, the story would probably play the exact same. The new characters are pretty fun though. I like General Mayhem and Queen Tiffany Haddish, and the ice cream cone guy is so funny. His voice is perfect for animated characters, and his line delivery is perfect. Richard Ayoade in this, Soul, and the Bad Guys is really good, and he's also great in Wes Anderson's Henry Sugar Short. My biggest issue is Rex. I'm gonna be real. As a twist villain, he works well. He's not a Mr. That was his mistake, or Zurg in Lightyear, so he's fine, I guess. I just don't get if he actually, time traveled in universe, or if he's just like a Lego figure that time traveled in the Lego lore.
Happening. It's all just the expression of the death of imagination in the subconscious of an adolescent.
I may be thinking too much into this, but the script may also just be unpolished, who knows. And while it doesn't really have that much of a really just the vibe that the first movie has, or the same oomph that it does, I still do enjoy this movie, even though it's the worst in the series. Did it deserve to be the final film of the franchise? No, absolutely not. 7 out of 10. The Lego Ninjago movie gets way too much crap talked about it, but it isn't an underrated masterpiece or anything. It's just a really fun action comedy movie. For starters, the animation is absolutely beautiful. The water droplets, the scratches on the figures, and the lighting, and the government base scene, and the volcano scene, they all just beautiful. And the movements are all really smooth and just make for some hilarious freeze frames. And there's just so much beautiful stuff going on in this movie. And I love how with this movie, along with Lego Batman, breaks some of the molds that the first movie made and allows for joints on the figures to just completely pop out. The characters also have a lot of funny interactions thanks to their voice actors, and it feels like they just all started ad-libbing in the recording booth, and it gives off some great chemistry, especially between the main leads. Jackie Chan is the only cast member that feels underutilized, but even he gets a lot of funny moments. This is probably the funniest Lego movie, or tied for the funniest with Lego Batman. But the funny is probably this movie's biggest issue. It can never decide when to be serious, and it's almost constantly spewing jokes, even in supposedly serious moments. And the jokes are really funny, so you don't even notice it, but it's such a funny movie, and it doesn't allow for the characters to be fully fleshed out, since we don't ever see them trying to be hee ha ha funny moment. But it's still such an enjoyable movie. While the emotional moments don't hit as hard, the action scenes and again the comedy both hit so freaking hard.
Man, my mom is on my case all the time. She's all... And I'm like, lay off, Mom. I'm just a teenager.
Let's get nuts. Because I just wrote a song about
The Lego Batman movie is honestly just so amazing. It's constantly funny, it's filled with so much of Batman's past, and it feels like a movie made by the fans for the fans, with beautiful, beautiful animation and amazing emotional moments when they need them. Despite how big the tone changes when Joker returns from the Phantom Zone, the movie still works really well. The first half is a bunch of more grounded Gotham set pieces with that Lego-y spin that made Batman such fun in the first Lego movie. And then once Joker turns himself in, it kind of becomes a heist with Batman and Robin. And then it becomes a city-destroying disaster flick with Batman and his fam. There's just so much happening in this movie, and it's so weird, and it shouldn't work, but it never feels overloading. Superman and the entire Justice League are in this movie, but they're only ever in one scene, and they don't come back for the finale. This is Batman's story in a Batman movie. We don't need these guys, and I'm so glad they didn't cram them into more of this film. Batman is also really interesting in this one. Batman's self-isolation is explored in this movie, and I think having Robin show up and the romance between Barbara makes it a lot more interesting. I usually don't like the Batman x Batgirl stuff because of the usual age gap and the Batgirl being more of like a daughter figure to Batman since him and Gordon are such good buddies. And Alfred acting as a father figure is also a great concept. I'm glad the Batman uses that a bit more. The villains are also super entertaining. Zach Galifianakis is such an amazing actor, and I'm so glad they got him to play Joker, and he's probably my personal favorite. He's constantly funny, he has so much of a vibe, and he's just a little goofy man. The supporting villains are also great. I like how Billy D. Williams gets to play Two-Face after 30 years when him first showing up in 1989's Tim Burton Batman movie, so amazing payoff there. Penguin just being the Batman Returns version of himself is really cool. Catwoman being played by the same actress that plays her in the Batman is also really cool, so I like to think that this movie is basically a test for her from Warner Brothers to see if she could play a good Catwoman, and she does. Riddler is played by Conan O'Brien for some reason, and it's honestly really funny. And then all the obscure villains are just so amazing. I'm so glad we have villains like Condiment King and Egghead in cinema history now. 2017 was just a good year for superhero movies. I don't know why. And while I don't necessarily have this as my favorite Batman movie, Matt Reeves' sweep, it's definitely one of the best. Don't at me. But there's one film on this list that's better than any of the rest. The original Lego movie is my childhood, basically. I saw this movie when I was like 6 years old, and it's the movie that led me down the path that has led me to where I am today. It made me want to be a Lego collector, which led to me making stop motion animation, which led to me wanting to be a filmmaker, which led to me reviewing movies, which led to me making this very video. This movie is one of the best animated films to come out of the past 20 years and one of the most influential to date. Without this movie, we wouldn't have Spider-Verse and its impact on animation, which has led to more amazing films like Mitchell's vs. Machines, Puss in Boots, and Klaus, along with so many others. The hilarious style of comedy, the compelling story and plot, the new ways of animation, and the new techniques made, being engaging and entertaining, likable characters with good arcs, and somehow no nominee for Best Animated Feature. Yeah, it's been 10 years, and I'm still kinda mad about that. Emmett is easily Chris Pratt's best role. Wild Style is easily the only notable thing Elizabeth Banks has done with her career, besides Pitch Perfect, but that's besides the point. The entire supporting cast is likable and constantly funny, especially Lord Business and Vitruvius, which is Morgan Freeman's only time voice acting in his whole career, shockingly. This movie led to the animation renaissance we're seeing right now, and has been one of the most influential animated films to ever come out of Hollywood, the animation industry, and the most notable film for me as a person. There are other films more recently that have affected me as a person, like Barbie or The Last Wish or Across the Spider-Verse, but the Lego movie is probably the most influential to child Baylor, and I don't think any movie will ever top what this movie has done for me. And thanks to this movie, we have these amazing pieces of art and their impact on not just animation but film as a whole. As stupid as it is to say a giant Lego commercial is a perfect film, this is a perfect film. And if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend watching it and the rest of the Lego movies. Rest in peace to this franchise, and happy 10-year anniversary of Lego Movie.
Our house!
Phenomenal, fantastic, so incredible.
Plenty! An original album of Everything is Awesome? Wait a minute.